Hey, what's going on everyone? This is Esmond, also known as Shen. In this video, I will be teaching you how to create your own basic content using Photoshop. I've been a digital and UX designer for over 10 years. I worked with brands such as Bandai Namco, Capcom and NetherRealm. I've also been a former tournament organiser and brand manager for Manchester Battle Arena. What I'm here to do is just share with you the experiences that I've learned. I'm also share with you the knowledge that I've accumulated over the last few years. So, have you ever wanted to create your own content, but you struggled with the software, but you also struggled trying to find a designer in order to create your own content? Well, look no further, because by the end of this video, I will teach you some of the basics on Photoshop, but also that allows you to create your own content. And the best part of this is, it's entirely for free. What I'm giving you, the tips and tricks I'm giving you is entirely for free, and I will not monetize on this whatsoever. So I hope you gain some value of this video, and then we'll move on to our first tutorial. Thank you.
Welcome to my first design tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to create this really simple Twitter header. I also got the Twitter header available on download in the link below, should you ever need it. You can change it, you can do what you want with it. It's completely free of charge. But not only that, this Twitter header is really adaptable. You can change it to any other game that you want it to be. It doesn't have to be Mortal Kombat. It can be Tekken, it can be Overwatch, it can be anything. Because this Twitter header is really simple and you can adapt it and change the colours any way you want it to. By the end of this tutorial, hopefully you'll be able to gain some value. You will also learn how to create your own Twitter header, and you will also learn something new within Photoshop. Hopefully you do learn, and if not, you are more than welcome to use the template that's provided below. Thirdly, I would like to thank everyone that has supported me and that's encouraged me to pursue these design tutorials. Last but not least, hopefully you will learn something, and I look forward to seeing what you guys produce. Kick off this tutorial by opening a new file. In order to do that, you have to go into File, New in Photoshop. Then it will open this new document window. And what you want to do is name your file. So we'll call this Twitter header. And you want the width to be 1500. You want the height to be 500. Resolution 72, so that's the bare minimum, but we'll put 300 in there. And the color mode to be RGB, that's completely fine. And then your background content, white. Then all you need to do is click create. Now you have your artboard. However, you want to draw some guides. We do want a center point and a middle point, and some guides for us to help us align our artwork. So in order to do that, go into your layers panel, double click background, rename that to background again. So what that will do is it will remove that lock icon. It will make this background an editable file. So if you click Ctrl T or Command T, it will open this bounding box. As you can see, you can now edit it, you can now scale it, and you can now do what you want with it. However, we'll just keep it the way it is. What we want to do now is draw some rulers and draw some guides by using the rulers. And in order to show the rulers, what you want to do is press Ctrl R, which is on Windows, or Command R, which is on the Mac. So if I press Command R right now, you can see the rulers are gone. If I do the same thing, Command R, the rulers appear. You can draw a ruler by going into where the rulers are, click and hold, and drag. And that will allow you to draw a guide. So what we want to do is line this up to the center of these two bottom squares. So you want to line it with the top square and the center of the bottom squares, and that will give you your center point. And in order to show the guides, you want to press Control or Command colon, and then you can show and hide guides just like so. You want to do the same for your horizontal guide, so you draw a guide from up here, click, hold, drag, and let go. And then now you've got your guide for your artboard. So what we want to do now is create the background. There are plenty of ways to do this. One way that I like to do is go to Google Chrome. I like to go to Google and I like to go into a website called Unsplash. Unsplash is a fantastic website that will help you find stock imagery. They're completely free to use as well. You use them to your heart's desire. So, what image do I want to use? Well, there are quite a few here. There's quite a lot of nice imagery here. So, I say this one's quite nice, and I think I already downloaded this one already. And what you do is you just click on that download button, and then it will just download to your file or your folder. So let me go and try and find my file. Show file. As you can see, I already downloaded that background already. So what I can do is just drag that file into my artboard. Drag that in. You can see it's now appeared. Scale it up so it fills the entire artboard, and then you can move it anywhere you want to, wherever you want. I'll say around here will be pretty good. There's nice range of textures there. However, I do think this background is quite light. I do want a dark background. You can easily do that by just clicking on a new layer. But first, I want to organize my artwork. I want to create a new folder, so I'll just click on this folder icon here. And I'll just call this background assets. And then I'll collect these layers here. So in order to select multiple layers, hold shift and then click on the desired layers, then drag them into that folder like so. And then now under that folder, within that folder, I'm going to create a new layer. So you click on this icon here, that creates a new layer, and as you can see it doesn't really do anything because it's almost like a transparent background. But if you was to put a color on it, so if I select the paint bucket within the toolbar, this paint bucket, and then I want it to be black, so you go here and then you just color pick whatever color you want. So we're going to go for black and just paint it like so by clicking. Now I have a black layer. However, I want to make the background see-through. I do want this black to show a bit of the background. However, you can do that by going into the opacity. By going to the opacity, you can change it, or change it to 50%, and you can see the backgrounds coming through. And you can see that the front layer, the front black layer, is becoming less and less visible. So I feel this is a bit too bright. Let me go 70. It's okay, it's getting there. But I'm going to go with 90 because it's dark enough. However, you can see the texture underneath it as well. As you can see, it's going to zoom in. So you've got that dark background, but you also have the texture coming through, which is quite nice. So the next thing I want to do, I want to draw this shape here. So in order to draw that shape, I'll bring my guides up again. So it's Command colon, you can see, you can switch them on and off. And I'm going to draw a rectangle. So you go into your toolbar, go into rectangle, then draw the rectangle to the center, like so. You can change the color of the rectangle, so I'm going to go with a grey for now, just so I can see what's going on. But I want to bend this rectangle a little bit more. I don't want it just to be a straight rectangle, as you can see right here. And you can do that by going to Edit, Transform, Distort. So press Distort, and then now you can select an area and you can bend them, as you can see. So we'll just go back to that. And say like if you were just trying to test an area or test something and you want it to go back to the way it was or undo something, just press Ctrl Z or Command Z, and then that'll just revert back to the way it was. So I'm going to select this little corner here, hold shift, click this corner, and then drag. And I'm going to go around here, probably about a third of a way towards the end. And then what I'll do here is click on the bottom one, like so. then drag that, hold shift, drag that, and then meet that into the center point. That's looking pretty good. However, I want to show more of the background. You can do that by pressing Ctrl T or Command T of this layer, hold shift and Alt, and then actually you don't need to hold Alt, just hold shift. No, hold Alt as well, sorry, I can't make my mind up. Hold shift and Alt. So starting from here, hold shift and Alt, then drag down. And then I think that will do here. So you can see I'm trying to create a border using a background. So holding shift and Alt does actually controls both sides of the trapezium. There you go. So around here is fine, I think. So that looks pretty good. Pretty close enough. But we're just doing this quite roughly and doing this really quickly. So now you've got this trapezium here. We want to now select a subject. So by going into a subject, we'll go into this website called Mortal Kombat Warehouse.com, and this is where you can get renders. You can find renders by going into Google, by clicking into the search bar, going into images and typing in Tekken character, then PNG, and then you'll find some renders here like so. And then if you see an image that's got these little this chest pattern here, it means that it's transparent. It means you don't need to cut it out. However, when you click on an image like this one here, this has got a white background. It means you're going to have to spend some time cutting that out. But luckily with Google you can find renders without having to cut it out, and that will really save you some time. I will teach you how to cut out images in another video, but for now let's go into Mortal Kombat Warehouse where renders have already been done, because we just want to get the basic core foundation of creating a header without going too complicated. I just want to make this header as simple as possible. So let's go into Mortal Kombat 11 here, and then we'll click on renders. And then as you can see, you have a selection of characters that are already cut out for you. So we're going to go with Scorpion, since we already done artwork for that. Where is he now? There he is. So click Scorpion, magnify him, and then what you want to do is right click this image and copy this image. Minimize your window, go back to your Photoshop file, and then press Command or Control V, which is basically your copy and paste. And there you go. And there you have your subject right here. But we don't want him to be, you know, touching the top of the header. I think around there will do fine. So now you have Scorpion in there. But now we want to put the type in. But let's first of all make sure that our layers is all in order. So now that is in the background assets layer, you wouldn't want that. Let's drag the Scorpion layer back up here, drag that above the background layer, and then let's just call this subject Scorpion. And then now we want to add in some type. You go into the type tool right here, click on this T, and then just type in Scorpion. And the font that I'm using is called MKX Title, as you can see, and you can download that from thefont.com. and if you go here, go on www.thefont.com, and then just type in MKX Title and you'll be able to find it. Just type it in here, search, as you can see, and here you go, and that's the font that you need. And just click on download and just drag it into your font file, and then you're ready to go. So back into the Photoshop file, we'll make that white, and then let's scale this font. So now it's 72, let's just make it about 48. It's not too bad, it's not too bad. I think I would make that bigger. And here's a little trick when you're playing with typography or fonts. move your cursor into any area that you want, and then by holding Alt and then pressing an arrow key, you can push letters and spacing. That is basically helping you control your tracking. So for example, if I feel this P is too close to the R, I can just move my cursor here, hold Alt and press an arrow key. Left or right, you can just move it. But it doesn't seem too bad. But there's a little trick that you can do. You can bring it really close or just bring it back to the way it was. It gives you a bit more control on your fonts, and it's a nice way of playing with typography as well. But I want to give this a little bit of depth, so I'm going to press Control T or Command T, and then it gives me this bounding box, and I'm going to drag it around here. I think this is pretty good. This seems like a pretty nice size. I'll move that up. But now I see that it's in front of Scorpion. You can select Scorpion by clicking on him, and then by pressing Command and square bracket, or you can Command square bracket, you can bring him up to the front, or you can just drag the layer back and forth, and then you can rearrange what order you want it to be in. So I'm going to have Scorpion up front because it just adds a little bit of depth to the banner there. So I'll probably might move him around here and then maybe make this type a little bit bigger. There you go. Something like that will work pretty well. So you got the premise of that pretty much. You've got the pure basics of that, but we want to make this area a little bit more interesting. So you can go into Unsplash again. So we go into Unsplash, and then I like to use some flames and some fire background because Scorpion is a character from hell. He's a spectre from hell, so I think it makes sense to bring in some flaming textures. So in order to do that, we can just choose any image that we want. Let me see, which one seems to be alright. I don't know, I quite like this area here. So I'll just click on this. That's downloaded. And then now that's in my download file. I'll go back to Photoshop, and then I'll drag that into my file. So make sure you drag it in front of that layer of that trapezium. So here's a little trick that you might not know. So I'm gonna make that big. If I have this layer in front of the trapezium, if you hold Alt between the trapezium and the fire layer and then click, hold Alt between the two layers, then click, basically the fire layer will become embedded into that trapezium layer. So it becomes a mask essentially. As you can see, I can move it around and it's basically inside that shape. So, which is great. You can also do the same with some with the typography and with the font as well, but which I'll show you later. So let's try and get this flame in there. You know, I quite like this area here. It's got a lot of action going on here. So just do that. Click enter. However, I do feel this is a little bit busy. I do want it to be a bit more subtle. However, I do want to retain the texture of the flame, but I do want to change the color a little bit because it seems to be quite hard to read, the Scorpion font. So in order to do that, we'll go into here. Make sure you select this layer, the fire layer here, and then you've got this little tool. And then what tool we want to go with is called Gradient Map. So click on Gradient Map. So it brings this up. However, that's covering the entire image behind Scorpion, but you don't want to do that. You want it just to cover that trapezium and that fire layer. So you just do the same here. So hold Alt, and then you've got this icon here, and then click in between the two layers, and then now is only affecting this selected area. Double click this area here, and then it will give you the colors of the gradient. As you can see, it's using black and white to color in the flames, but we want to change the color a little bit. So as you can see, the white is basically selected the lighter areas, and then the black is basically highlighting the dark areas. So we're going to go for white, and then I'm going to color pick Scorpion. You know, you've got a bit of nice range of colors here, range of yellows. So I'm going to select like a light yellow around here. Maybe around here. Yeah, that seems fine. Double click this one, the black area. Then I'm going to select the darker shade of yellow. Let's go for an even darker section, and there we go. So you got your flame. So what happens is, when you select a gradient map, it basically turns an image into a dew tone. So it highlights all the textures and all the midtones, the highlights with just two colors, with different shades of this, with two different colors. But I think it creates a really nice subtle way of creating a background. And you know, you don't have all those different shades of orange, you know, which makes it seem too busy. But by doing it this way, it just creates a more subtle, but also a bit of action going on. You can tell it's flames. It just makes it just a bit more easier to read, a bit more legible. Right, but I want to make this font here a bit more interesting. So I'm gonna click on effects down here, and then I'm gonna click on drop shadow. So what happens now is you can set your shadows. So I already set this up. So I set the opacity to 70, make the distance 16, the spread 0, and the size 24. Once you've done all that, click OK, and then it gives you the shadow of Scorpion right there. Works pretty well. It really lifts it off the page as well. Then if I remove the guide, it looks pretty good. So, but I want to make this a bit more interesting. So remember the alt trick that I was teaching you, you know, for the trapezium there with the flame being masked within that shape? You can do the same thing with fonts as well. And that's what's so crazy and cool about this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring like a sort of grungy background. Remember this old background that we used, you know, for the black background? Well, we're going to bring that back in. Let's bring that back in. Cover the Scorpion font. Make sure that's in front of the Scorpion font, and then press Alt. Make sure the texture is in front of the Scorpion font. Press Alt. Click in the layers panel. Make sure you click entered first, sorry. Click in the layers panel, and there you go. It's now embedded into the Scorpion font. You see that? And then you can just like stretch it out a bit if you feel like there's too much texture, and then you can move it around just to give it a bit more more emphasis if you wanted to. So I'm just gonna, yeah, I think that'll do. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna move it to a more lighter area. Yeah, that's better. That works really well for me. That looks really, really nice. And then we're going to add the last touch to this. And what we're going to do is going to add a Twitter icon. And then I'll show you a website that can help you get these icons really, really easily, so you don't have to recreate them yourself. And the website that I use is called flaticons.com. And then you just go into the search bar, just type in Twitter, and you'll be able to find all sorts of Twitter icons. So I go on this one here. This is the one I want. What you do is click plus, and it gives you different file formats. But we're going to go with a PNG. It's just nice and flat, easy to transferable. You can also select the official Photoshop file as well if you want to edit it more. EPS files for Illustrator. So whichever one you want. So I'm just going to go with a PNG, select a size. I don't think I need it that big, so let's just go with 256. And click re-download. And then there you go, you have your Twitter icon there. So I'm going to drag that here. You can see the Twitter icon's now here now. Let's just bring that, make that a bit smaller. All you need to do is hold shift and then drag downwards, and that'll keep it in proportion. Let's put it around here. Around here seems to be pretty fine. But I want that to be white, and you can just go into FX here, go on color overlay, then select white, and there you go, it's white now, which is good. And then I'm going to add another piece of text in there. It's got massive, but we don't want it to be that big. Let's go 12. And we're going to go with, oh, it's gone to 48 again. Hold on a second, we'll just type that in first. And then we'll select a different font for that. We'll go for Proxima Nova, which I think is quite a nice font. Doesn't need to be too bold. Probably might go for medium. Move that over. Still quite big. So, and because it's a Twitter banner, it doesn't need to be too big. Because it's normally quite big anyways. Once you put it onto your Twitter page, and put that on 9. Give it a bit of spacing. Make sure this is lined up, so you can select the 2 layers. So by selecting this layer and holding shift and this layer here, you can use these alignment tools here to centerize it. So I'm going to click on this one, and then what that'll do, it'll centerize it exactly. And I'm just going to move this over a little bit. So I'm going to hold shift and then press the arrow key. So the right arrow key, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 seems to be a good number. And then move that further up. What you want to factor in is that there will be a profile picture within here, so you want to move this further up a little bit more. So I don't want too much space up here, so 1, 2, 3. I think that will do. And that is it really, and that is how you really create a really simple banner. However, you can play with the levels a little bit more in terms of like the texture. If you do not want Scorpion to look like he's actually been plonked onto the banner, you can actually play with the contrast and the levels. In order to do that, you can just go into image adjustments and levels. And then you can just like tweak the dark tones, the mid tones, and the light tones. So just like tweak it slightly, just so it just feels like it's part of the image rather than it just being plonked on. There you go. It's just really, really simple. And that is it. That is basically how you do a simple header like this one. Really kept it simple, and I will teach you how to do more advanced stuff like in my later videos if you guys feel this is valuable to you. If you really like what you see, please give me a thumbs up, please give me a like, give me a follow, give me a retweet or anything, or even give me some feedback. Give me some feedback on how I can make these videos better for you, and it will also encourage me to create more valuable content for you as well. So, but thank you guys for tuning in. Really hope you enjoyed it, and really hope that you learned something today. So take care of yourselves, and this is Shen, over and out. Thank you very much.